Hey Catalysts, today I want to talk about change. Specifically, I want to talk about lasting change, the kind that can have an impact over a real long period of time. So generally speaking, when you talk about a simple change or something that you're doing one time, that type of change is really easy. But as lasting change that's actually going to have an impact over a longer period of time, that's probably going to be more meaningful overall to you, and that change is far more difficult. Because when you're talking about making that type of change, you're actually talking about changing your habits. And not only are you talking about changing just one habit in terms of actually creating a habit, but you're actually talking about breaking whatever habit it is that you're already doing. So maybe your habit is, I don't do anything, I sit around on the couch. Well, you have to break that habit, and then you have to replace that habit with some other habit, like I actually get up and go do something. Now, habits are really hard to actually break because our brains get comfortable with those neural pathways of what we're actually doing. So it wants to keep doing that over and over again rather than try and turn out. It almost becomes like a rut, which if you've ever driven in the snow and you've driven in somebody else's tracks in like a deep snow and then you try to turn out of it, you know that that can be pretty tough. Well, our brains basically work the same way, where they get comfortable with that habit and they keep on doing it over and over again. And so trying to diverge away from that becomes more difficult over time. So how can you initiate lasting change in your life? Well, there's two major ways that I've seen that work pretty well for me, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. The first is the Bandaid effect, which is where you just force that change, and sometimes it can be kind of painful, but you get all of the change all at one time, and it just happens, and then you've done it, and it's there. The other type is more of like an incremental change, where you have just a little bit of change, and then just a little bit more change, and then just a little bit more change, and then the next thing you know, you've actually got quite a bit of change that's built up over time. Now, both of these different change types can work depending on your situation. You may say, well, which one's going to be better for me? And the answer is, I can't really tell you. You're going to have to try. There's a lot of different factors, so I have to go with, it kind of depends on how you respond to change and how your brain responds to change. In some cases, your brain may respond really well to that forcible change. I actually just quit playing World of Warcraft and I turned my account off, and I've actually responded really well to that. It was a forcible change. It was a Band-Aid tear. In other cases, you may respond really well to that incremental change because it's less noticeable for your brain because you're doing it in these small little chunks. Some people's brains have a tendency when you do that really forcible change to kind of recoil back and go, ooh, no, no, no. And so that's where the incremental change can be a little bit better. So let's talk about ways to improve your chances for success of actually keeping this as a lasting change, because let's be honest, we've all tried to change and we've all fallen back into our old habits before. Number one is consistency. Doing things consistently is going to improve your chances for actually having lasting change. On the Band-Aid ripping off side of things, that's going to be just a matter of not going back and doing whatever it is that you're trying to replace. You got to make sure that you actually replace whatever it is that you're doing with your new habit. If you fall back at any point in time, even just a little bit, that's going to become a slippery slope, and the next thing you know, you're not going to be doing your new habit, you're going to be back to your old habit. If you're doing your incremental change, it's just making sure that you do your increments on a consistent and regular basis. An example of this is on my must list, I'm working out at least 3 days a week. I must do that. And so what I've been doing is I've just been making sure, even if it's just for 15 minutes, 3 times a week, I just go ahead and I do that. Having accountability back to someone or to something can certainly be very helpful. Have a friend check in on you. And basically what you want to look for here is they're going to come back and they're going to say, hey, what are you doing? Have you been keeping up with the change that you wanted to do? And you're going to be honest with them, because not being honest with them isn't any help to you. And so even if you fail, you got to go back and say, yeah, I haven't been doing as well as I should be. And so they're going to come back and they're going to challenge you, and then they're going to say, okay, well, why not? And hopefully, if they're a really good friend, what they'll do is they'll actually help you work out a strategy or a plan to actually start doing your change more regularly. So another way to reinforce that change that you've been going through is to actually go ahead and celebrate your successes. So maybe you wanted to start running, and it's the first time that you've actually run for 5 minutes straight. Awesome. Put that on Facebook. People love to hear that kind of stuff. It feels really good. Same thing with like, oh, I want to be working on my art. Let me take a picture of it. I'm going to put it up on Twitter so I can share it with my friends and I can get some feedback on it. Celebrate those successes and say, hey, look, this is what I did and this is because I've changed. So one final key, it has to basically do with starting. And if you never start the change, well, you'll never change. And if for some reason you fail while you're actually working on your change, then start your change again. because we're all going to fail at some point in time. None of us are perfect. But it's the people who consistently try over and over and over again that have the most amount of success. So what change are you working on? Something I can hold you accountable for? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, click on like and feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching.